Welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show, where we explore the fascinating world of real estate investing with your host, Patrick Switek. Patrick is a dynamic young entrepreneur and an accomplished real estate investor who's passionate about helping others achieve financial freedom. Each week, we sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals in the real estate industry and delve into their personal journeys, lessons learned, and secrets to their success. Let's dive into this week's episode.
Frank Bosi, welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show. It's been about time that I can bring you on to introduce you to everybody here. For the people that don't know who Frank Bosi is, he is the director of partnerships at Hostfully. He also has a pretty diverse background with managing his own properties and has a lot of experience with hosting before even getting into working with Hostfully. I'm just really excited to have him on. And today, really, the one thing that I think Frank nails down, not only have I met him at a bunch of conferences, and he's probably like one of the most energetic, charismatic people I've met, and that's coming from me, where people give me that title. You have not.
We've got the Riz, Patrick, is what the youngins say. Yeah,
that's what the young kids say, is the Riz. So I think it's really cool to have Frank come on. Not only am I a Hostfully user myself, and we've been in close communications, it's been really cool building pretty much with Hostfully on some of the things that are really important for property management software. But that's part of the conversation today. But I do think that the core thing that I want to bring him in is the foundational aspects of what it takes to be a good host and just all things systems and tech for that. Let's get the foundations right and make sure we're not skipping any of the steps. And I'm telling you, even if you're an experienced co-host, like we're going to dive in, or experienced manager, we're going to dive into some of the deeper questions that maybe you're going to get some gold nuggets out of this. So without further ado, excited, Frank. Welcome to the show, man.
You hit the nail on the head. I would join Hostfully about 5 years ago on the sales side. Just started partnerships a little over 8 months ago. But my career prior to Hostfully, yes, we have our own rental, but I was a good chunk of my career was in the hospitality industry, but mostly focused on luxury hospitality. So having that experience, including my own short-term rental experience, I know how to really just leverage your operations and just ensure that your guest has a seamless stay, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. We are in the hospitality industry. We want our guests to remember us. We want those 5-star reviews. We want them coming back. So having all that, considering all of that, you have the right systems in place. You have to have the right SOP, the right team. But most importantly, you also have to have the right short-term rental, because especially with you and Joshua Tree, Patrick, you also have listings all over. Every market is different. Every guest is looking for something different. So what you do with one property, you can't necessarily do with the other because the expectations are different. So there's so much that, especially with those individuals that are just starting in the industry or maybe have their first listing or first handful of listings, I think it's at the operations portion where they find like they hit a wall. They have their listing set up, it's looking sleek, it's nice. They followed all of the checklists that we offer. And then it comes to the operations side, and there's so much involved, which I'm sure a lot of your audience can attest to. And then for those that are just joining and just hearing about you and your setup and your story, which is phenomenal and definitely something to consider and something to talk about. It's that consistency with the welcome experience. But then again, it's that operation side that a lot of people are just like, now what do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times I talk to people and they don't have certain things set up that are just the basics. Hey, if you don't have the basics set up, like even the idea of reviews, which I know we're going to get to later, but like timing the messaging for the reviews is like everything. Getting more 5-star reviews that way. So small things like that. But Frank, going back just a little bit, what is your experience specifically? Like which market were you in? What was your experience with hospitality like? Just real quick, 1-2 minutes.
Yeah, so with the hotel industry, which is really cool because I think that the short-term rental world has always been about Airbnb, heads in beds, that approach. But you're seeing that those individuals that are successful in their rentals, you included, Patrick, are thinking outside the box. you're enhancing the guest stay. You're essentially acting as a brand, as a hotel brand. Like we have a lot of clients where make sure that if you're a brand, act as a brand, like Marriott, for example, their luxury property, specifically the Edition. I don't know if you've heard of it. They have a
Yeah.
handful of properties. Ian Schrager and Marriott partnered up. Really sleek aesthetic. You walk in visually, you're in an Edition, but the second you smell their signature scent, that's it. You're at an Ian Schrager Marriott luxury brand. And what a lot of people are doing now is they're coming up with their own scent. It could be a lavender or whatever it is, or you can also elevate that and make your own scent. There's a ton of companies that do that. But having that scent at all of your properties, especially as you grow and especially as you're making your way to being a top tier host, is something that just sets you apart from that
Yeah.
competition.
Let's talk about
So
scent.
it's things like that, just
I
thinking
hear
outside the
mixed.
box.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
Oh,
do hear mixed reviews about scents. So let's squash this and let's hear yours,
I know.
right?
I forgot about
I'm
those
gonna
days.
challenge you, Frank. So this is what it's all about, man. So yeah, scents. There are some people, and this comes back when I first started Airbnb, because you're right. There is a scent to a specific hotel brand. Like I've been in an Edition, and I think I know what you're talking about. But I'm curious. When I got started in the space, people were like, "Hey, do not use any scents because that's if it's too strong, people are going to smell it, and the sensitive noses of some people, they might like it, some might not. Like, how do you know it's a universally well-established smell that people are going to? So I'm curious your thoughts on that, and how do you combat that, and where do you find these scents?
Yeah, it's harder for the hotel industry because, like the Edition, that's their
Mhm.
scent, and that's going to be the smell no matter what. With hotels and short-term rentals and hosts, you could also use that as a wow factor. So let's say I check into one of your listings and your scent is eucalyptus, and I loathe and despise the scent of eucalyptus. If you have the right systems in place, you could apologize, maybe offer a discount at their next stay, come back and give us a shot without the scent next time you visit Joshua Tree. But then, with the right SOP and systems in place, making sure that scent is not in your unit or your listing during their next stay, they're going to remember that and they're going to be like, Patrick is on top of it and is just a more of a memorable experience. So I think with short term rental hosts, you have a lot more flexibility with the scent. Again, you don't need to do a scent. That was just an example that I've
Yeah, no, I
used.
like the idea. I
Yeah.
like that idea. I just wanted to see if that was something that is
Yeah, and
possible.
I wouldn't say anything strong, something like
Mhm.
subtle. Like
Oh,
I
got it.
love,
Yeah, that
we
makes sense.
bought these wool balls to put in our laundry so they help deodorize your clothes and makes them less wrinkly. I can
Yeah,
go on
yeah.
and on about that. But the other day, not the other day, it was maybe a year ago, I was like, I'm going to do the laundry. And when my wife comes home, she's going to have this scent of peppermint. So I put peppermint eucalyptus oil on these wool balls for the laundry. And she walked in and she's, what's that? She was so turned off by the scent of peppermint. Here I thought, oh, she's going to walk in and it's going to smell so good. And it did. To me, it did.
Yeah.
She didn't like it. So I just never used peppermint
That's
again.
a strong, but you're right. It is a strong scent. Like peppermint's a very people like it or they don't. But I
Yeah,
feel like there's certain things like clean laundry. Like I think people can all resonate. Like
exactly.
laundry detergents have to make specific scents that kind of cater to most people, for example, because they
Yeah.
have to use their products and they don't want to deter people from using their products. So I
Mhm.
can see how there could be a potentially subtle scent. Now my question to you, because I'm curious, if you don't have the answer, no worries, but where do you find scents like that? Is there,
Simple like eucalyptus, like those kind of scents. Any like any essential oil
Mhm.
brand has that. We use, oh gosh, what's the name? I forget. I'll get back to you on it. But it's like fully organic and stuff, but they have a ton of scents. And what you do is you could put them in the laundry, you could put them on your towels. One of our clients, they use like this lavender birch. I stayed with them when I went to Ohio for a conference. I stayed in one of their units and their towels were just so awesome that I asked what they did. And they were like, our cleaners put essential oils in the dryer when they're drying. This way the towel smells like this high end fat, not deodorant, like laundry detergent. And that was like their shtick. That's what they did, and that's what they're known for. And there's people that don't like it. It's okay. They'll try to figure it out, but that's what they do. I loved it. But there's ways that you can do that. Another fun way is when you do find the right scent, they have diffusers that you could use throughout the home. Very subtle diffusers. They even have ones now that you can make your own and plug it in to an outlet and do that throughout the room. And then what I've recently done is we started putting essential oil on the air filters of our air conditioning. And every time we switch out the filters, we put drops of essential oils in, and the whole house smells like that essential oil. So there's really cool ways that you can execute that. But then in terms of where to buy it, I mean, they're all over. Go to Amazon. And I would say like something specific to your market. So if you're in Joshua Tree, you might not want to do Ocean's Breeze. You might want something a little bit more like Barky or Sandy. And that's another cool thing is maybe every property has, or every market has its own scent to relate to the market in which you're located. So that's just something to take into consideration.
I'll try that.
I would say like subtle scents.
Subtle sense. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the only reason I went off on this tangent with you is because I do think that scents are one of the most powerful indicators of how
Oh
people
yeah.
feel in a space. And that's cool. Okay, so cool. Let's take a step back and talk about all things operations, right? I think when it comes to foundations and what every host needs, the dire question, and I'm gonna challenge you with some questions, Frank. So
Do
I'm
it.
ready for you to give me your best answers. But curious, property management software is the elephant in the room. There's so many of them, right? There's 126 or something last time I checked. It was like a
I
year
didn't
ago.
even know there were that many. Gosh.
I think that's what I'm going to quote Mike because Mike McConnell told me that. So
Oh, okay, there you
that's
go.
on him. But yeah, so once again, what is like Hostfully trying to build? And from an operations standpoint, what are the core important things to note about operations when you're building this? Yeah.
And you could have your listing in place. It could be beautiful. But when you're juggling multiple bookings, you have calendar syncs to multiple OTAs like
Mhm.
Airbnb, Verbo, Marriott, Google Vacation Rentals now.
Yes.
You have the cleanings, you have the guest messages, you have all of that SOP, and it doesn't take long before spreadsheets, your
Mhm.
inbox, your manual inbox can't keep up. And that's where a property management software comes in handy. And that's where we not only Hostfully, and I'll get back to
Yeah.
mentioning the 126 that are in the industry, your PMS becomes your secret weapon, essentially, and
Mhm.
it's going to set you apart from all the others. Now, there are so many of us. I'm proud to say that Hostfully is one of the top. Yes, we have great
Agreed.
competitors. There are great property management softwares out there, but not one property management software, as well as Hostfully, there's not one property management software that can check all of your boxes. So
Boom. I
every
agree.
property management software is different. Like we're fortunate to have you on board and we worked with you and you found guidance and comfort in knowing that Hostfully has everything you need. But
Yeah.
you've got friends in the industry that didn't have
Yeah.
Hostfully didn't have what they need. So they use a Guesty, they use a Hostaway, a Hospitable, a Lodgify, a Track, a Streamline. Like they use all of those guys because those softwares had what they were looking for. So with all of that being said, with all of those, do your due diligence and talk to them. There's
Yeah.
salespeople at every single one of these that are waiting for a conversation with you. Even if you are using a competitor of ours, maybe you're using another property management software and you've just been through the ringer month over month, you're waiting for a ticket to get answered that you put in 6 months ago. Maybe that's a sign like, hey, let me go look at the others. Talk with us. We're happy to
Yeah.
chat with you, especially if you're coming from a competitor. But
Yeah.
again, just the conversations are meant to be had around that.
100%. And I couldn't agree more. I think every time somebody asks me the number one question I get, which is what PMS do you recommend and what PMS are you using? Those are the two questions that go hand in hand every single time
Oh
I
yeah.
talk to somebody. And I feel like this is like conversation across the industry. It's like one of the most talked about things because
And
it's
in full
important.
transparency, before you even say it,
Yeah.
is I remember first starting my partnership role. I'm like, hey Patrick, let's get you a discount code. Let's have you recommend Hostfully to everyone. And you were like, I can't do that because Hostfully might not be a good fit for that person. And I was like, yes, good job. You passed my test. No,
Yeah, well,
but that's it. That's
yeah.
that. You're doing the right thing. Like you can recommend Hostfully. You can recommend demoing Hostfully.
Right. I
You know?
do. I do. I think
Yeah.
the reason I like our partnership too is everyone's trying to get like the referral fee to incentivize, and I'm just not incentivized by that kind of money. It's small money to me versus what I do with my core job, which is my property management company. That's really my livelihood. That's where I get it from.
Hmm.
So everything else I do is just to help other people out. And once again, yes, I like Hostfully? Yes. I obviously have picked it over the other platforms. But once again, it works for me, and that's that. And I can get into my reasoning. My reasoning, quite frankly, is I think, in my opinion, and this is not a dab at any of the, because I get talked to Guesty, I've talked to Hosts Away. I
Oh
think,
yeah, we talked to Guesty in like a very small group setting. You're like, we're
oh
good.
yeah, with Travis, yeah, oh yeah,
I love
oh
him though. He's a great guy.
I love
But
Travis.
yes, but be very blunt and very
Yes, very
transparent.
blunt, and we'll do anything for your business. But anyway, if
Yeah.
you want to talk to somebody from Guesty, a little shout out to him.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
I think the way that it goes is for me, I just needed my core stuff working. That's really what I needed, and I needed Hostfully to be able to connect with a wide array of things that do really well at what they do. For example, like price labs, right? I'm using price labs for pricing because that's what they're best at. I'm using Hostfully for what they're the best at. And being a thing of trait of many things, but a master of none, to me wasn't really that appealing. And I feel like a lot of times, especially with the pressures of venture capital, and I get it, I come from that world, you get pressed to be like, okay, how do we make more money from our existing customers, or how do we increase them, or how do we get new customers in? So get aggressive sales teams and try to make as much money from the customers that you currently have. That's what that in most venture cap, and that's not all venture capital, but that's the pressures that you're into. And it's hard to get out of that loop because you're already so deep and you have so much payroll, you have so many expenses, like you just have to continuously do that.
Yeah. It's like you
You know,
have a lot of flexibility because you have the money, but you also don't have the flexibility to do a lot of things
exactly.
because you have the money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And so for me, Hostfully just did the core things I needed to do, which is, for example, the things that people may take for granted, but there's no double bookings ever. Like I don't have to worry
Mhm.
about that. I don't have to worry about like the systems work. And there are some instances where and things don't get like upcharged like all the time, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Set price. Yep.
yeah, set price, cool. I know what it is. No upsells into secondary things. Granted, if you want an all-inclusive platform like that, then maybe that Hostaway or Guesty or some of these other ones like might be a fit for you. But for me, I wanted to go and seek out the experts that were building these software companies within their own domain, like just being the best at it. Right now, we're exploring Enso. That's a perfect example, like I can think of
Yep.
right now. Their their unified inbox is their thing. They want to master this guest experience arm,
Yep.
and to be able to plug that into Hostfully and just plug and play if I wanted to, it's nice. And so
Yep.
when I'm exploring different softwares like that, I enjoy having something that connects really well with everything and does the jobs of what it's supposed to do, which
Yeah,
is
I think that's
yeah,
that's what sets Hostfully apart from all the other property management softwares in the
yeah,
industry is that we focus on what we do best and we rely heavily on our partners to do
hmm
what they do best. So yes, let's say you have to go externally for dynamic pricing, price labs. You have to go externally for Enzo Connect, and then a cleaning and turnover management software, and then a guest screening. Those are all external. But
yes,
because Hostfully has one of the strongest APIs in the industry, and because we have one of the strongest partnerships with all of these integrations, it acts as though it's part of Hostfully. It's part of your
exactly.
tech stack. And it works, as you said, seamlessly. So focus on Hostfully not getting you double bookings, but then focus on price labs to make sure that you're optimizing the best rate possible for that specific season. And we integrate really well with all of these other integrations, all these other software. We have to integrate seamlessly and perfectly in order for them to be part of our integration zone. There are a
Agrees.
lot that reach
Yeah.
out to us and we have to say no, not right now. Or hey, we can do it, but we need X, Y, and Z improved before we move forward with the next step. And I think we have over 100 integrations in our software, and we work really well with them. Yeah, Enzo Connect, phenomenal communications. I love Francois. I love Yoav. I love their entire team.
You guys are
They're
building the version 3, right? Connection?
Yeah,
Now
so
as the time recording. Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, something.
But they have a nice guidebook, but Hostfully also has a guidebook. So that's like another thing. Yeah, okay, we're not going to stop partnering with Enzo Connect because they're somewhat of a competitor in that front. But we have a really good friendship where if something doesn't work on our end, we're like, oh, just I'll introduce you to Francois. I think Enzo Connect can do that. Or if Enzo Connect's pricing is too high, they'll be like, all right, Hostfully has this and they only charge $5 per guidebook. So that might be, so it's, yes, it's the integration and the software that's important, but it's, again, director of partnerships. It's also the relationships that we have with the software in the industry that makes it easier. There's also Slacks that we get where there's a user on Price Labs that has an issue, or on any other integration. They put it on the Slack and they're like, hey guys, Frank is encountering this situation. We looked on our end. We think it might be something on your end. What can we do? Our team looks on our end and we're like, oh, it could be this. And then we solve it on the back end with our partners. So the client doesn't have to do that. And going back again, there are people, we've had a lot of prospects that are like, you know what? We just want everything on the software, which is understandable. But again, our software is that with our tech stack. But again, there's a mentality there. And the best you can do as a salesperson is say, absolutely, I respect your decision. Go with that property management software, test them out. If they're a fit for you, awesome. We want you to succeed. If they're not a fit for you, you have my contact information. So it's just leaving it off at that. Like, it's in your hands now. You have all the information you need. And now you do with that what you need.
Yeah.
And it's trusting the property manager as well. Like a lot of salespeople, you need our software because of X, Y, and Z. That's the worst thing you can do as a salesperson. Tell the other person what they need.
Yeah. 100%. You want them to come to the decision always.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also playing nice in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's 126 of us. We're on the tip of the iceberg.
It's use that number now. And it's
I have to look into that. Before we say, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us in the industry. And it's a very incestuous industry to be a part of. You got to play good in the sandbox. You got to play nice. We're all in it for the same reason.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit now. Because I think this will be fun, right?
I like challenges.
Okay. So if, let's say Hostfully, you're not disaffiliated with Hostfully, what property management software other than Hostfully you would, for yourself, recommend, aka look into, aka potentially?
I have to preface it by saying...
For you.
Yes. For the property manager, let's preface it by saying, if Hostfully is non-existent, you look at the features that are important to you in that software and then go with others in the industry that are similar to that. With that being said,
we get like a big comparison chart for all the PMSs. That would be awesome. I would love to.
Well, so the cool thing is at VRMA last year, we had a property management software panel.
Oh, yes.
And they had me sitting next to Guesty and Logify.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of us on there. Some shouldn't have been on there, in my opinion, but there were a lot of us on there. And rapid questions, what makes you different? And we had 60, 90 seconds to answer them. I blocked out. I don't remember a thing. But apparently it got people to the booth. So I said something. But it was like rapid fire questions. But with all of that being said, it's like we're all in it together. But they provided like a packet with all property management softwares in there and a checklist of what they have and what they don't have. However, they had people that worked for that software answer those questions. So a lot of the questions are off. That's why I'm like, get a list of questions, meet with each individual one, ask the questions up front if you have to. If you're really looking through a dozen property management software, be like, hey, no disrespect, I just don't want to waste your time. Can you do this? If they can, then yes, let's continue the conversation. I like those demos because if we have everything, it's giving me the confidence to continue that conversation. And if we don't have something and we don't plan on having it in the near future, I just saved 45 minutes. So and it breaks up the mundane demo environment.
For sure.
But to go back to your question, I'm not avoiding it as much as I would love to avoid it. I'm not avoiding it. But I would say Guesty's there, Hostaway is there, Hostfully, Hospitable is
Hmm.
there or will eventually be there. I think there's a lot of limitations on their end. But you know what? Hospital, they're doing a great job. They used to be an integration of ours when they were Smart B&B, and then they decided to become a property management software. They're relatively new-ish to the PMS side, but they're growing. They're great. But again, I would say those are like the three. I like Logify as well. Comes up a
What
lot.
about Streamline? No, any of the OGs or Boom? I'm curious.
Yeah, Boom,
No,
I'm still trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out Sahara and that story, which I think they're more on the AI innovative side.
yes.
We don't come across them as much.
Mm.
Streamline, funny story. So Streamline, I think, caters to property managers that have thousands of listings, like the high
Yes.
hundreds of listings.
Yes.
The funny thing is sometimes we get people that are like, hey, I'm a little frustrated with Streamline. Can we do a demo? And we do it and we don't have what Streamline has. We don't cater to the 1,000 property management company listings. Like we would love to eventually. And can we? Yes, because we have the customer service, we have the onboarding to ensure that you get the best transition possible, which I'll talk about later. But in regard to those bigger property management softwares, sometimes our software just doesn't do that. Nor do we want to do that yet. Who knows? But yes, but the thing is, the funny story with Streamline is every time we get a demo and it says it's coming from Streamline, you're excited. But Streamline has a great following. They have a great client base. And every time we get a demo, we know they're staying with Streamline. So
Wow.
Streamline, I don't know if they're like, oh yeah, we're going to move forward with Hostfully. And then Streamline's like, wait, let's work with you, which says a lot about a software.
It's
You
really
know,
good.
there's a lot of software. They're like, oh, you're going to Hostfully? Good luck. We'll talk to you later. Just leave be. But that says a lot about Streamline is they're
Yeah.
really good at client retention. They have very little churn, but again, very different software. That's why I didn't put Streamline, Track, all those others really on level with us, just because I think that just caters to a different operations.
And so what is like each, you actually noted something about the high end, high level listings, right? There are some talks where somebody says, for instance, I think the common thing is people start off on hospitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of transition. What is every like those property management softwares that you mentioned? What do they cater to? Does Guest usually cater to people that have over 50 to 100 plus? Hostaway as well. Where does Hostfully stand in that? I'm curious, like what's like the ideal customers? Not saying that's limiting just to that.
Yeah, turn down or
Yeah.
discredit any of the softwares that we just mentioned.
Yeah.
But like with Hospitable, they do well to a certain number based on the conversations I've had. And then the property manager gets too big for Hospitable and then looks at the others, which isn't the case because sometimes I'll talk to someone that is from Hospitable and they're looking to switch software and they have 40 listings and then they just go back to Hospitable because they like the way Hospitable run and the way that they do the automation. So it really is contingent on that. Again, just going back to the property manager and what they're looking for. But yes, most of the time people start on Hospitable because they're also very inexpensive
Yes.
because they do not offer certain
Right.
features. And I
Right.
could be wrong because we're all growing and
Yeah.
changing
Yeah.
constantly. But last I checked, they didn't have a direct integration with Verbo. You have to like
Hmm.
use an iCal. They didn't have a
Yeah.
unified inbox where you can respond. Like those are important things to have. And those unfortunately do come with a price tag. So yes, what you're saying is majority of the time. But again, sometimes it's a great software for that property manager. With Hostfully, we cater from one client to 1,000 clients. We just make sure that our features and our capabilities work for that property manager. We don't deny anyone that has small portfolio of listings. We love one listing property managers, and we're not going to shy away from the ones that have thousands because the really great thing about Hostfully is that we are large, but we have this phenomenal culture where if there's a demo and it's with a big account and we're working through things, we're getting David Jacoby on that call. We're getting Margot Schmorak on that call, the CEO and the president and co-founder, in the event that they can help. Now, sometimes it's so intricate and so focused on a specific feature that David and Margot don't make sense to have on the call. You know what? We're bringing in Eric. We're going to bring in Bryce. We're going to bring in onboarding manager and someone on their team that knows that to jump on the call and make sure that what we have works. And if it doesn't, if there's a workaround, and if there is nothing, it's, you know what, unfortunately, we don't have it at this time. Let's touch base in about 6 months. So the thing is with Hostfully, and again, we'll get back to that, is we're very hands-on. We make sure that we're working with you until the very end, not just with the demo. We have onboarding. We have a customer success manager that you get as a dedicated account, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But then even like with Guesty and with Hostaway, I think yes, Guesty now has Guesty Lite, right? Or just Guesty for hosts, which is essentially
Guesty.
Yeah. So Guesty wants the big guys.
Yes.
And if there are smaller property managers, they offer them Guesty for hosts or Guesty Lite. I forget what the rebranding was. But that's essentially a smaller, less impactful software. It has everything you need if you have 1 to 4 listings, 1 to 5 listings. But then the thing is, because you have that little listings in Hostfully's culture and Hostfully's opinion, you should not be limited to the other things. You should not be limited to white labeling or to custom branding or to digital signatures. Like that should be available, which is what we categorize based on pricing because each listing comes with a whole nother level of finances on the back end. But we don't categorize, oh, you have 1 listing. We're going to focus on our client that has 100 listings and you can wait. That's not how we roll.
Yeah. And Hostaway is also, Hostaway and Guesty have a lot of features, right? Like we talked about before, like they do take care of a ton, right? And that's like where Hostfully not relies, but definitely those partnerships.
Strategically, we strategically rely on Price Labs. There's a lot of people that we have demos with. Yeah, and they're coming from Guesty and they're like, oh, you don't have dynamic pricing? I'm like, no, but we integrate with Wheelhouse and Price Labs, and we have a bunch of others coming. We have smart pricing coming up, Smartness. We have Quibble. There's like a whole bunch. So Price Labs doesn't work for you. We have all these others as well.
Yeah, but going back to the pricing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because of that, right? The pricing is adjusted, so like the pricing is never going to be as much as Guesty or Hostaway is my assumption, right?
Correct. Yeah, because Guesty has dynamic pricing included. Correct. Now, sometimes the dynamic pricing, they need something a little bit more advanced, so they go to Price Labs eventually. Whereas Hostfully, and I'm not shooting Guesty down or Hostaway, like that's their software. I'm not saying that we'll ever not have dynamic pricing, but our focus right now is relying on those integrations that do well. And those are the ones that we're going to focus our energy on, is the integration and not building our own dynamic pricing tool. Because we know it won't be as good as Price Labs.
Of course.
Or Wheelhouse or all the others.
Do you know what just off the top of your head, actually this recording is going to be different, but the pricing accordingly, I've seen Guesty's pricing and sometimes they're upwards of, I've seen $60, $70 a listing.
I know. And the thing is, maybe, I don't know if you want to include it, maybe reword it, but off record, the competition is there. There are a lot of us in the industry. They can be strategically highly priced because some people, you know what, they're like, all right, whatever, that's the cost. But there are a lot more people now because of platforms like yours and others that are educating people that there are differences and you don't have to rely on one. If you have 3 listings and a good property manager that you know from a networking event uses Guesty and that has 100 listings, doesn't mean you have to use Guesty either. So it's just educating yourself and focusing what's there. But yeah, the pricing per tier, I believe, are the most competitively priced in the market, with the understanding that you're going to have to pay for another integration. That's why we're not priced very high.
That's okay. Like for me.
Exactly.
That's 100%.
Sometimes the $70 a listing doesn't make sense. But the thing is, some of those accounts make that kind of money where they can.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying that's what they charge. I don't honestly,
the X amount of money. Yeah.
But the idea is you're going to be paying more, but you have everything included. Or you can pick your own softwares and pay with that. because yeah, that's the idea, and that's cool. Now, what fundamentally is, because obviously we know what a property management software, PMS, right? We get that, but what is a core functionality of a PMS that every PMS has? And let's talk about those.
So I would say, so definitely I would suggest the calendar syncing. Very important
Yes.
because you want a software that connects to all the major channels, Airbnb, Verbo, Booking.com. I would say Google Vacation Rentals are up and coming, so take a look into that. But I would say that those are the majority, and then contingent on the amount of listings you also have. Marriott International is a pretty cool one, and then Hostfully also has a bunch of smaller OTAs that we connect with, which if you feel free to go to hostfully.com, it's part of our integration zone. You can see all the channels to which we integrate. But the main ones, Airbnb, Verbo, Booking.com. Let's leave it at that. You want to make sure they connect with that. Not only that, I would suggest, and some people may think it's not important, I think it is a unified inbox that communicates with all three of those channels. So if somebody sends you a message on Airbnb, you're going to receive it on Hostfully. You're going to respond on Hostfully. Your response is going back to the channel from which it originated. So again, you're just consolidated on to Hostfully. So the unified inbox, the calendar syncing,
Reservations, handling reservations and information.
handling reservations. We have a really cool, it's unique to the industry. It's our pipeline. You get to see where all of your guests are in the process of their reservation, as well as their payment status. And it's visual. So Hostfully's very visual. We have colors for different channels, colors for different statuses. It's like pretty to look at. If you're going to be in there day in and day out, you want to like what. So it's having that feel, and we incorporate that through our software as part of our playful yet professional culture is we're bringing it out in our software. I got a flash.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have a sloth in the back.
Yeah, we gotta have some fun.
For the video
Life's
people.
too short. But yeah, the calendar sync, the reservation control, text message, email automations is important. WhatsApp is huge now because some people don't check email and some people discredit text messages. We found recently, especially with international, WhatsApp is very important to have. And we have automations, which is my next thing, is having automated communication or the ability to do. But we can connect with the unified inbox, the text message, email, as well as WhatsApp. I'm not saying WhatsApp's a kind of a definitely use it, but if it's a software that has that integration, that's nice to have, especially if you have a lot of international clients. That's important. But we also found out that a lot of our Floridian clients need WhatsApp because they get a lot of people that come in. They're not Floridian, but like maybe mostly like Orlando, that vicinity.
For sure.
WhatsApp, they need WhatsApp.
For sure.
So that's been a really important thing
Yeah.
with the automation communication because, and just, I would say that those are maybe the top four things
Nice.
to look at a property management software.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the companies with which they integrate, I think is very important.
Then you have like ops pricing, waivers, all of those things are additional things that people bring into their PMS.
Yeah, and we have a lot of features and capabilities that we're not touching on. So
you have Smart Lock, for example. It just recently came out, and I've been using it.
Devices. Yeah, I'm super
That's been
stoked
better
about
than
that.
Remote Lock. I will be honest. You've saved me $7 per unit, and I don't need Remote Lock anymore. So I'm
Love it.
for it.
Good. Yeah, and it's really easy to sign up too. You just activate it on the back end.
That's I think is like you could do in the PMS. I'm glad you guys did that.
There's a lot of requests for dynamic pricing, for cleaning and turnover management. There's a lot of people that want that in our software, but we knew we could not do it, at least not right now. But Hostfully devices is something that's very feasible that we were able to execute. We have great partners in the industry to help us with that. So that's been, I'm glad you brought that up. I was saving it until kind of the end.
Let's talk about automations because that's really where it's, for me, it's sexy because it saves a lot of time. And obviously we talk about the foundation of automations, which is the idea of, okay, you have a message that goes out to the guests when they make the booking. You have a message when they do an inquiry, a message right before their stay with information, a message checking in on them a day after their stay or day after their check-in. And then you have the checkout review message or checkout message and then the review message. That's pretty much kind of what I've heard is like the core. Can you maybe
Yeah,
talk
and you
a bit
can even
about?
go like the extra step as well. So with Hostfully,
Yeah.
we have a ton of conditions where you can create a template, either text message, email, or
Yeah.
WhatsApp. And in that template, you then create a trigger. And that trigger is the automation. And you can do, obviously, when a booking is confirmed, updated, canceled, you'll get a notification. We have a ton of other options. The complex condition is really fun because you can send out communication before the stay starts, after the stay starts, before the stay ends, after the stay ends, on a specific day of the week. There's really a lot of complex conditions. And with all of those, you could do hours or days. Like my favorite one, there's two favorites. The first one, really focused on the experience, is create a template saying, Dear guest, and we have a ton of variables. So you can make your templates less templatey, like
Yeah.
more hospitable, more unique. And you can say, Dear guest, welcome to the property. We're thrilled to have you with us. Hope check-in went well. I just wanted to take the opportunity, introduce myself. I'm Frank Bosi. I'll be your contact all week, all from this date to this date. You can even have the variables on their arrival and departure date. Should you have any issues, please don't hesitate to email me. Create that template. Your automation is 2 hours after check-in. So now every single one of your guests moving forward for the next 10 years that you're with Hostfully are going to get an email 2 hours after they check in, checking in on them and offering assistance if they need it. So you automated that entire, but you don't need that, but that already enhanced the guest experience. And most of the time they don't use it. They appreciate it, they don't use it. But then if they do use it, it's just looking at the silver lining is, okay, fine. Now there's more work for me. However, I can make this guest stay that much more enjoyable because otherwise they wouldn't have told me that it smells like mildew or there's a fish smell in the freezer. It's catching those complaints prior, just changing the way you think and the way you approach certain situations. I love that one.
It's more
Um,
proactive versus reactive, which is all of
Yes,
hospitality. Yeah, that's
exactly.
kind of thing.
Yep. Yep. It's anticipating the guest stay, which is what I
Yes.
was taught in the hotel industry. You anticipate their needs and they're going to have it. And then another one, which one was it? Oh, it's after checkout. So there's two ways that you can ask for a review. Some
Yes.
people like to ask during the stay or even book again. Some people like to ask during the stay. Hey,
Interesting.
we would
I've
love to
never
welcome you back. Yeah, I
done.
forget where I heard it, but it happened recently. I forget where it was. I think it was on a podcast or a webinar. Maybe it was one of our guests. They do it during the guest stay. So one day prior to departure, they send out an automatic email saying, Hey, I hope you're enjoying the stay. If you do plan on returning to this location next year or in the near future, feel free to book with us directly using this website and use this discount code as a percentage off or whatever.
What's cool
That's
about that
been
is like
proven.
you're on your high, right? Like you're
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
exactly
that's the
that's the
problem
science
is when
behind
you
it.
yeah, when you make the message like the day after when they're leaving, they're already on a low, their vacation's over. Versus
Yep.
on when they're on their high, they're with their family, with their that's usually when you want to ask the question.
Yep, exactly. And that could go twofold because, like with me, I'm type A. Like I have to go home, I have to look at my paper
Yes.
calendar, I have to plan accordingly, I have to see what we have planned. But yes, no, that's getting on the high, and it's a direct booking in a year in advance. You could always cancel or reschedule or something. Now you have a direct person you have a direct contact, so you could
Right.
always talk to them about some rescheduling opportunities. So there's that, and then the other one that I like is 2 days after checkout. You can send out a request for a review. We have on the onboarding team, once you join Hostfully, we give you 5-star templates and triggers. And those are automations, communication automations that we found to be successful. Every time we come across a cool one, we add it to that list. And we share that with you during your onboarding session.
Yeah.
A really fun one is creating a template saying, Hey, we miss you. We'd love to welcome you back. Here's our direct booking website. Here's a discount code if you book with us direct. And you send that out, I don't know, 90 days after checkout. Every single one of your guests is going to get that email 90 days after they check out, reminding them, like, hey, we would love to welcome you back. And then you can push them and incentivize them to book with you directly.
So
So
you
that's
could
a
do it
fun one.
90 days outside of the stay if you automate that.
Oh, you could do 97 days or
That's cool.
132 days. Yeah.
Can you do, let me ask you this. Can you do a drip campaign? Can you do like messages?
There's a workaround for the
Okay.
drip campaign.
So I was going to say, in that case, why not just, if you don't have their email, because you can't, because if it's on Airbnb, you can't get their email. So can you just...
Yeah, the goal is to get it. But then also, again, that's perfect examples. Like with our guest communication, there's a lot that you're able to do and that could suffice. But then you got StayFi. We integrate really well with Author and his team. We integrate really well with StayFi, and they do some incredible things with capturing the guest email, but not just capturing, but also promoting and marketing. And like they do drip campaigns. That's their thing. So yes, we can do it with workarounds, but I would say go to StayFi to be a partner of ours to get that executed, because that could be another option.
Yeah.
There's
So
one more thing that we got, and this came from guest requests. So we always have the usual complex conditions. And every demo, not every demo, majority of demos, everyone's like, oh, do you have a specific day of the week for trash pickup? And we're like, we don't have it, unfortunately. So we have something called user voice, where our clients or signups, guests, even the sales team can go in and be like, click on the box for a day of the week. And then the more requests that function and feature gets, moves its way up to the list of things to have. So that's a perfect case study on our little success story, is now we have day of the week because a lot of our clients needed it. And what you do with that, you can use it for trash, you can use it for whatever. What I like to use it for is enhancing the guest stay. So I have a listing up in Hoboken, and we have Food Truck Friday every Friday from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So what I do is I create a template saying, hey, just a reminder, there's a really fun event and it's on Main Street, and I recommend going to this and this food truck. FYI, it's open container, so be sure to bring your own drink to make it a little bit more fun. Like I made it fun and make them part of Hoboken, but I send that out on Thursday. This way, the guest gets it on Thursday and they can prep. Then I send out a little reminder on Friday being like, hey, just a reminder, today's Food Truck Friday. Make your way over to hear some live music and enjoy a few local breweries or something like that. So that's like a fun way that you can enhance the guest stay by using guest automation. It doesn't have to be boring all the time or expected.
I like that. I actually I didn't even have that in mind. So that's like a cool one. I think anything you can do, even if you're like in let's say you're in a wine country, you could do something along the lines of, hey, my buddy, today's Friday, it's half off wine bottles, and I know this vineyard, and you can go hit them up, ask for Martha, and then Martha can hook you up. And those are like really cool touches, like especially because a lot of
and we also, Hostfully also has a guidebook. So we have Hostfully property management software, Hostfully devices, and Hostfully digital guidebooks. Digital guidebooks are links. So what a lot of our clients do, what I do is I include that particular vineyard link, and it's going to say hostfullyguidebook.com/, and then it'll say Martha's Vineyard. And we shouldn't use not that scope, but like Frank's Vineyard. And it's going to go specifically to Frank's, and it's going to go to the page that offers the half price. So you can have all of these different links that bring the guest to the guidebook. And then the guidebook is just the opportunity to really just communicate all these different experiences to the guest. So that's like another cool thing that you can do.
Cool.
Yeah.
I do see that we're getting closer to the end of this. So I'm going to do what I do with every guest, which is ask you the last 3 questions. And cool. So last 3 questions. And one is going to be special just for you. And that's going to put you on the spot again. But the first question is, what educational resource do you believe helped you the most in your career or anything that you do? It could be industry specific. It could be anything. It could be anything, videos, whatever.
For me personally, I like podcasts.
Nice.
It's like real life people talking about real life situations, no fluff, just full conversations. I love my Joe Rogan, but there are some others that are a little bit more educational in a specific market. Podcasts for sure.
Sweet.
Because it's also visual, and visual, I need to be sitting down. I need a screen in front of me. But if I could have a podcast that I'm listening to on my 20-minute drive to the gym every morning, I'm listening to that podcast.
So what podcast?
In terms of like growth?
For you. Yeah.
I'm guilty. It's Joe Rogan, especially if he has a really good guest. I'm on it. But I do a lot of faith-based podcasts and all those as well. But in terms of, like personal growth, career growth, they're all out there. Yeah. And I am actually the worst And I said I podcast, but I hop around so much. I wish I could find like one podcast that I could
Yeah,
just listen to every single day. But I tend to hop a little bit.
there you go. All the
Yeah.
podcast hoppers that are listening to this right now.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had a good one to go to, but I,
What about the Patrick Real Estate Show? No, I'm kidding.
yeah, exactly. They're on it. They're listening. Yeah.
Go, right? Second question, what does the future hold for Hostfully and for Frank?
Oh, geez. Hostfully, there's a lot of things going on. We're one of the top property management softwares in the industry. We've been around for a little over 10 years. I think this year was our 10-year anniversary. I forget exactly what date, but there's a lot happening. Good things happening.
Yeah.
More
Anything
features are coming.
like what kind of features? Maybe you give us a little sneak peek. What is the future? Like, let's say in 3, 4 years, where's Hostfully going to be? I'm curious, what's the vision?
I think, and we have a sheet, and I'm guilty because I also don't follow the sheet on the product releases as much because
Yeah.
I'm not doing sales day in and day out like I used to. But there are a lot of features. I can always send you our timeline. I'm happy
Gotcha.
to do that. But I think it's going to be very AI driven and like a lot of automated processes. Not saying that we would create it, but we have a ton of AI partners. Conduit, we have HostBuddy AI on board. There's a bunch that
Yeah.
are happening. I think the market's going to be super saturated in a way where a lot of them may phase away, may get acquired. Who knows? So there's really some fun things happening, especially seeing like how much Guesty has made in funding, how much Hostaway has made in funding. I forget what Guesty's most recent one was, but they did go public, I believe, or about to. I
We're
forget.
about to, yeah.
But there's money in this industry. So I think Hostfully, we're trying to find the great thing about Hostfully as well is that would we love $175 million? Yes. However, are we going to lose the culture that we've created with that 175 million? Who knows? We would accept 5 million with an investor that believes in our values and our culture and that's not going to change that and take the 5 million and be like, okay, sorry, we can't accept the 175. So we're looking for investors that are invested, ironically, in our company, in our culture, and don't really want to like step on any toes. But again, who knows what's happening behind the scenes? I'm just the director of partnerships. But again, there is a lot of money in this industry and there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. So there's a lot of potential in this industry for sure.
So last question before special one just for you. You have to pick one property management software you would use if it's not Hostfully. Let's say
Oh
Hostfully is
gosh.
not here. You got to pick one. And
Oh,
it's like, on the spot.
I'm torn between Guesty and Hospitable.
Okay. Okay.
I think just because Hospitable is so good with our automation, and I love the team at Hospitable. Any conference, listeners, Patrick, if you go to a conference, you're going to see me hang out at the Hospitable booth. It happens.
Yeah.
Sorry. But you'll find them at our booth too. Great team. It's just some features are limited. Guesty would be another option just because I think they're so advanced and they're constantly changing. But there are some things that they could work on their customer success side. But I feel if they're not using Hostfully, they're using Guesty. And I just hear so many good things about them. So ironically, though, my choices are Hospitable and Guesty. And I feel like Hostfully is like the average of the two. Like we're the median. We're the clone of them both. We're like the baby, the Hospitable and Guesty.
There you go.
The cool
I love
baby.
it.
The
They
first
made
baby.
Cool, man. No, thanks
Yeah.
so much for hopping in and talking all things property management softwares in the industry.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Super fun. And just curious if people are curious more about maybe even Hostfully or maybe want to talk to you, just to talk to you, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So how can they find you or connect with you?
So LinkedIn, Frank Bosi. Easy way to stick with me professionally because I post a lot of our like podcasts. Like when your promotion goes out on this, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Instagram. Definitely hostfully.com, Hostfully Instagram. You'll find out all things Hostfully on our social media. But then if you want to learn more about Hostfully, go to hostfully.com. We have a bunch of stuff on there. But I would recommend feel free to email me directly. It's frank@hostfully.com. That's it. Super simple. We can jump on a meeting. We can jump on a demo. Hostfully has a great referral and affiliate program. So if you are a Hostfully user already, feel free to reach out to me because we can have a talk about how to earn commission off of referrals. Like there's just frank@hostfully.com. We'll make it easy.
Sweet. And I don't have any affiliate links, but if you want to mention my
exactly.
If you want to mention my name and give me a brownie point, go for it.
There you go.
But appreciate it. Thank you so much, Frank. And
no, Patrick, I appreciate you. And again, you had your property management company, and then you acquired another property management company that was using a different software, and you brought them onto Hostfully. So that just shows your dedication and your belief in us. So we appreciate you, your partnership, your loyalty. So many more years to come, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I appreciate you.
Are you going to be at VRMA Vegas?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
We'll have fun.
I know. I try to come to our STR Wealth, but family blocks. All good things, fortunately, but just some limitations on that end.
For sure. All good, man. Hey, nice chatting with you, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you as well, Patrick.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Patrick Real Estate Show. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a follow and leave us a 5-star review. Your support truly means a lot. And connect with Patrick in the show notes below. Until next time.